All right, welcome back. So I'm looking at this on Channels TV, their actual blog, and it says WIKE apologizes to First Lady over Rivers women's walkout, calls incident embarrassing. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), Nyesom Wike, has criticized a group of women who walked out during an empowerment event organized by First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu in Port Harcourt, calling the act disturbing and embarrassing. The protest happened on Friday at the EUI Event Center and was allegedly led by women loyal to the suspended Rivers State Governor, Similai Fubara. Some of the protesters, said to include sacked local government vice chairpersons, left the venue while chanting pro-Buhara slogans. They demanded that Governor Fubara's wife, Valerie, address them instead of the wife of the state administrator, Mrs. Teresa Ibas. Despite the protest, the event continued inside, with Mrs. Ibas speaking on behalf of the First Lady. Reacting to the incident in the statement released on Saturday through the Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media, Larry Olanyika, that name rings a bell.
Yeah.
Minister Wike, currently on official engagements in China, expressed disappointment over what he termed. So I have a question for you, sir, so you can take over this.
Right. Yeah, I'm
First,
listening.
do you have to have a journalism degree to practice journalism? Did you watch that back and forth between the animal anatomist and the journalist? And did you watch that? And what is your take on that? And then you can also address the
In
Remi Tinubu
truth,
situation.
in truth, I do not know who the animal anatomist is, and I don't
Oh,
know. I did
oh,
not
the
see the
animal
person.
anatomist. I'll tell you. Is what's his name? Rufai actually studied animal anatomy in school. So it was a
But
back and forth between Larry
yeah,
Olayinka and.
okay, if that is, I mean, I know Rufai by reputation very well, and he is one of these words. I do not want to confine him to being a Nigerian journalist or African journalist. One of this, I mean, one of the most hardworking journalists in this world. And I also know Larry Olayinka to be somebody with a background in public communications and journalism. I do not really, but let me tell you that being an animal anatomist in one's first life, just like I was trained with, I mean, as an expert in English language and curriculum studies. However, by training and passion, I became a journalist, and that is my profession. You understand this? So the fact that
Oh, so
Rufai,
wait, you didn't have a journalism degree too?
not a full-blown degree, but I also have certificate of training from BBC and other
So
organizations.
according to Mr. Larry
Practically,
Olayinka, many of you are breaking the rules. Many
that
many
is
of you
not
are breaking.
who is setting the rules. You see, some of these
Larry,
guys, in fact, professionally, some of the people who are talking will not be the ones setting the standard for me as to how professional I am. But I am eminently trained by first generation hands in journalism in Nigeria. So if I was trained by somebody like Baba Femi Kusa, Baba Lade Bonola, people like the late Alhaji Alade Odunewu, the current Commissioner for Information in Lagos, Mr. Gbenga Omotosho, and so on and so forth, and self-training myself with contributions and well-known professional efforts of people like Dr. Ruben Abati. You are going to tell me that I am not a thoroughbred journalist? And you even start with me to understand the rigorous, what's it called, mental stuff that constitutes my professional DNA before you can open your mouth like that. Whatever anybody is saying, Rufai Oseni is nobody's pushover in journalism. And you need to also look at the personalities who come around and teach journalism most times, they themselves, do they really have what it constitutes to be called
Mm-hmm.
thoroughbred professional journalists? I do not need the validation and what's it called? Rufai Oseni, so also a
Mm-hmm.
slave like would not need anybody's validation before you know the stuff you are made of. Um, if you are in doubt as to how tough I am professionally, then you need to ask my contemporaries in Abuja. When I attend assignments, you also know that somebody who is well prepared ahead of that event and that assignment is right there, not just as a bench warmer, but as somebody who drives what would make the following day's headlines. That is there. Now, as to somebody
WIKE, Fubara, Oluremi Tinubu.
yeah, having to apologize to Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu,
Mm-hmm.
well, that is what you would call a politician being clever right there. But for the people who staged a walkout on Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, it's a way of making it known to her directly that this thing they have done, the emergency role appointment of an illegal sole administrator, an illegitimate interim administration in the state, is causing so much disaffection, and that people, majority of the people of that state, possibly so, are against that kind of unconstitutional measure. And who else would deliver it? But the politician in WIKE is apologizing to her. You find so many willing sycophants all over Nigeria. He probably was the one that had given the government in Abuja, the federal government, overdose of false security or intelligence estimates and reports that warranted the needless situation. So what do you expect him to do in this situation? And then because of that, and kudos to the courageous women who staged such a walkout. This is not what we want. Here we had said good things are happening in Nigeria. And when bad things happen too, we need to speak up. This thing that is called sole administrator, sole administration, or interim arrangement we thought after the wasted efforts of installing an interim administration of Shonekon on Nigerians, something that was vehemently opposed by everybody during the interregnum between Babangida and Abacha, that nobody would want to do such a thing, repeat such a thing in Nigeria anymore. But as it's often said, history has a way of repeating itself. It could be a form of comical farce, such like we have it now. It's, a comical script that has to stop. That is the statement those women made. So whether WIKE is apologizing or not, he is one of them. He was the one that sold his home state for a pittance. So he can apologize for as long as he wants. But Lera Olayinka has a job to do, and that is what he is doing. I'm reluctant to criticize him just because I know him very well. And at some point, I think reason will prevail, because some of these principals, they know how to hook up. And Lera Olayinka, maybe whatever is driving him, I know he has a passion, and I'm not going to start questioning that. But the overriding appeal must be to a sense of patriotism and court decency. He should stop trying to tear down everybody. I had him elsewhere accusing Bobby Dele Momodu of collecting over 500 million naira to support Atiku Abubakar's presidential
I think it was the same live stream. It was the same live stream. That's what they were asking him about when he
Yes,
went
I,
into.
I, I had all that. Later, Olayinka has got to control his temperament. The outbursts are too much. And in the final analysis, these people will meet each other. One person taught me, I was an embedded strategist for the former Governor Mimiko of Ondo State. I studied him closely. I find out that most times he never personally attacked any of his political adversaries. He never did that. But many of us that were supporting him will go on the attack. There have been times I stood up because of somebody trying to undermine Dr. Ruben Abati when he was first named media advisor to President Goodluck Jonathan. Eventually, all these people that Abati and all these people made up, he and some of these people became good friends. What happened to some of us that were in the audience taking sides? Perhaps if today I call Dr. Abati, he may even be reluctant to pick my call. But if Imani Boro calls him, you can be sure that Abati will answer him pronto. So people should be very careful. These people, from the experience of Mimiko that I've mentioned, from the experience of Dr. Ruben Abati that I've mentioned, some of us who are heads to some of these public figures how to tread carefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaking of Ruben Abati, somebody who tried to undermine him a few weeks ago is going to come up in one of the trending news we're going to talk about today, the VDM. But in the meanwhile, we have another story we want to cover before we jump into that. But hold tight. We'll be right back.